Let's talk about the impact of negativity. Now, the negativity I'm talking about is anything that afflicts you, anything that's kind of like a burden in some way, anything that takes away happiness. Now, there are different ways to deal with negativity, and I find that every way is usually explored by most of us. Some people fear negativity and try to strive away from it 100%. Others let negativity affect them, and believe me, this is one of the more common traits among humans. People who get affected by the smallest of things, for example, one small little negative thing ruining an entire moment. Others like to embrace negativity and accept that it's a part of life, using negativity as the guideline as a means to trying to figure out what's necessary to fix the situation. People vary with different ways on how they deal with negativity, and for the most part, people use all three ways. Some people lean more towards the letting negativity affect them, and others strive to stay away from negativity entirely. Now, I'm also aware that people also do hybrids. A lot of people experience one way, then they experience the other. It's a very weird cycle of human emotions and human psychology. Let's talk about people who try to avoid negativity 100%. Now, I've met happy people before, and that's not a problem, I love happiness. Being happy is awesome, I've met a few people who try to be 100% happy all the time, and as I said, that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to be happy. It's not a bad thing to try and make others happy. But happiness is cool, but if we hold other things back, things will build up inside and will explode. It's like what happened in the movie Inside Out. Joy was trying to repress all of the sadness within the brain of the main character, and this is what ultimately led to a big collapse in the movie. Happiness is definitely one of the most important things when it comes to life, but what's also important is that we feel the sadness, the anger, the negativity that comes in with all of these other things that ultimately make us who we are. It's 100% fine to be happy, but you also have to give yourself some time to be sad and to be negative. I understand that some people try to be happy because they want to make the others around them happy, and believe me, that is amazing. That's awesome if you do that. But the point still stands that you have to give yourself some time to be sad. If you're trying to be happy 100%, that's great, but you also have to realize that without sadness, things become difficult. The second way of dealing with negativity that I talked about was negativity affection and how sadness just takes over a little bit too much. That situation where people let negativity affect them is very drastic. As I said with happiness, the same thing goes with sadness. You have to give yourself some time to be sad, but if you're sad all the time, that's kind of a problem. You need to give yourself some time to be happy as well. I've seen a lot of people who have acted negatively towards themselves and who they were and had just very low self-esteems. From my experience, not that many people in real life show off their negative side, but if you want to find people who think lowly of themselves, all you have to do is look online. Now, there's nothing wrong with being sad, but if you're too sad and you beat yourself up all the time, it can definitely be detrimental. Some people talk about their flaws way too much, and they talked about them so much that it brings other people down around them. If you give off an endless vibe of negativity, then it just inflicts around to the people around you. If you act negatively around others, it's just gonna put out that negative energy towards everyone around you. And eventually, there's gonna be a big circle and spiral of negativity that's surrounding you and the people you're around, and it's just not pleasant to be around. If you beat yourself up too much, if you be too negative, it will lead to no support because the people around you are going to be brought down by what you're saying. I've been around people who try to be happy 100%, but I've also been around people who definitely beat themselves up way too much. And it's sad to see, It's really sad to see people who don't appreciate what they have and who don't appreciate who they are. People who constantly expose what's wrong about them as if there's a problem with that. Because in the end, we're just going to have to accept that we all have flaws. It's really sad to see somebody dwelling over the things that they have no control over. And when I'm around these people, it brings me down too. It makes me sad thinking about how other people are sad. Being happy around other people will make other people happy. But the same thing goes for sadness. If you're too sad and depressed all the time, it'll bring others down with you. That energy gives out to others. So it's in our best interest to start embracing the fact that we all have flaws. And the third way, which I spoke about earlier, is to embrace negativity. Of course, this can be the hardest way to deal with negativity, but if executed, it could lead to major, positive, long-term outcomes. When it comes to embracing the fact that we all have flaws, I can respect somebody very, very much who goes from somebody who's trying to hide the fact that they have all of these flaws to somebody who respects the fact that they have these flaws and somebody who respects themselves for having flaws and being a human being. Give off the energy that you want to receive out into the world. If you want people to bring you up, you have to bring yourself up. If you bring yourself down constantly, it's going to bring others down with you, and it'll lead to others bringing you down as well. As noted before, it's an endless spiral of negativity, and it's very disappointing to be in. And I can respect every single person who gets affected strongly by negativity, who goes all the way to embracing the negativity and realizing that they have flaws. Because in the end, negativity is always going to be a part of our lives. It'll show up in the most unexpected of places, and sometimes it'll take us by surprise. But in the long run, it all depends on how we deal with it. We can sit there letting the negativity affect us, leaving the possibility of it spreading to others. Or we can embrace it and use it to help us identify what needs to be changed in our lives.